Hey guys, it's me, ChaosRain, and I'm making another video. This one is particularly on who to blame in League of Legends, as you can see by the title video. So I made a little bit of like bullets that I can talk about because again I don't know how to really edit videos, so I just kind of talk with things like or okay. So like talk about exactly what you mean. What I mean by this title is who to blame in League of Legends. With hypotheticals, it's not going to be the title, but what I mean by this is in League of Legends, it's very easy to blame other people besides yourself, especially since there's a lot of things that are out of your control, or at least more so feel out of your control. So the thing about this is there's a lot of things that are in your control that you may not think about, or you may not know about, and there is a lot of ways to spin your own like control on things that are out of your control by predicting uncontrollable, and then making a plan around it to control the uncontrollable situations, therefore being able to control it. Um, and by blaming specifically yourself, you can improve the fastest, or even be able to improve it all by blaming yourself. If you blame anyone but yourself, or any factors but yourself, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to improve at the game. Now, talk about why this matters. This matters because if you, let's say, your top laner plays pretty bad, and you bank the loss on your top laner playing bad. Like that's what you like put all your blame into. It's going to be very hard to see your own mistakes in the game, and not only that, it's going to be very hard for your brain to subconsciously notice these things aren't working and improve on them because you blame the entire loss and maybe your top lane playing bad or your bot lane dropping the ball and feeding or something like that. Because even in losses, especially in losses, right, you should be improving because every mistake is a key to improving. And if you view especially your teammates' mistakes as as just like you can't get anything out of your teammates' mistakes and they're just bad, that takes away another way that you can improve because you can improve on playing around your teammates' mistakes. It's a big thing that you need to be able to do to get challenger, to be high ranked. You have to be able to know what mistakes your teammates will make and play around them. And by viewing your teammates' mistakes and your own mistakes as failures and unplayable around rather than things that you could improve on, and you blame yourself and what you can control, if you don't do that, you're not going to see progression. You're not going to succeed because you're putting your effort into things that you cannot control. So, show examples. I'm just going to show a few examples of what I'm saying. This video won't be too long. Um, so we have Lisa in here and we have Zach here. So let's say that you're playing Mordekaiser top. You're pushed in really hard. You guys have a ward on Zach. It Krugs, okay? Your Lee Sin is here doing his Gromp. This is like, let's say, like level 5-ish into the game. So everyone's like level 5. Um, Zach ends up going top. He ends up killing the Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser dies. Who is to blame here in this situation? Well, it depends on who you're asking. Because if you're asking the Mordekaiser who's to blame here, it's the Mordekaiser. Because the Mordekaiser should think that if Lee Sin is not going to counter gank, he will not get ganked. And if they see Zac, he will back up. And that is what is in his control. So if you're asking the Mordekaiser how this play could have been better, that's what he should tell you. Now, if you're asking Lee Sin what he could have done better, Lee Sin, or not what he could have done better, but whose fault this is, Lee Sin will maybe say that it's the Mordekaiser's fault because Mordekaiser shouldn't have got ganked when we saw Zac on a ward. But if you're the Lee Sin here, there's also a possibility that you could counter gank. So if you're the Lee Sin in this scenario, your mistake, if you're asking the Lee Sin, is not counter ganking when we saw the Zac. So both people can choose the option of blaming their teammate in a play that could involve their teammate, or they could both choose to blame themselves. And now you can see pretty easily here how if Lee Sin blames Mordekaiser, nothing will come of it. And if Mordekaiser blames Lee Sin, no improvement will come of it. None for either party. but whichever one chooses to blame themselves is the one that will improve. So that's a good example. We're gonna go on to another one. Let's say you're playing Vayne in this scenario. Okay, Veigar's pushed in. Katarina roams bottom and she kills you both. Now, are you going to blame the Veigar for not missing pinging, or are you going to blame the Vayne for not seeing that Katarina was coming down? Well, this depends on who you're asking. Again, if you're asking the Veigar what he could have done better, he could have missing pinged the Katarina who roamed bottom. If you're asking Vayne what she could have done better to not die here, or Janna what she could have done better not to die here, they could have noticed that Katarina was missing without the missing ping. Missing pings are just an excuse, by the way. You should never blame anything on a missing ping that your laners aren't calling, because that's just pure being bad at the game. You should be able to look at your own map and see someone's missing. So if you're asking the bot lane, it's that Katarina, we did not see her come down and we died. It's not Veigar's fault. And if they're looking from their point of view, and Veigar is not to blame in any way, and the bot lane is not to blame in any way. It just depends on who you're like looking, who the person asking the question is. So then we're gonna look at another one. Let's say you're playing a Mumu top and you do blue buff, you're clearing down like this, Cho'Gath is getting shoved in. This guy goes red buff, blue buff, Gromp, invades your red. Are you gonna blame your Cho'Gath for not moving in, or are you going to blame yourself for not having a better clear path versus someone that could potentially invade you when they're versus an Aurelion Sol, a champion known to classically have the push in and a lot of mid laners? Well, this depends on who you're asking. But in this situation, I'm gonna say that every single time. By the way, I gotta drive the point home. But in this specific situation, the Mumu needs to blame himself for not starting his red buff and clearing upwards, knowing that Graves usually will invade your red buff if you start blue as a Mumu. Like, it's just a mistake. And if you're the Cho'Gath, you could have maybe told your Amumu this would happen to avoid the situation. With Aurelion Sol, you could say, I don't have push versus Aurelion Sol early game, or you could have pinged Aurelion Sol went missing, or maybe got an early ward for your jungler knowing that he could get invaded. A lot of stuff to do differently from both parties. But this cannot be figured out if neither one of them blame themselves. Because if neither player blames himself for the situation occurring, then neither one of them can improve, and the situation will happen again and again and again. It'll never stop because no one will ever take the correct measures to improve. Another example, we can look at this. What the fuck was I looking at here? Oh, so wait, where's the other champion? Mother, I didn't lock it in. Okay, sorry. So we have Rengar, Irelia, Mordekaiser, Kindred. Kindred starts red buff into blue buff into Gromp. So this is Kindred's clear. Rengar does full clear, so he does red buff, Krugs, Raptors, Wolves, Gromp. That's Rengar's clear path. So basically, Rengar's going to be about right here when Kindred's right here. Now, being in this position, let's just say that top lane gets ganked by Kindred. Kindred goes around, boom, Irelia falls, she dies, she goes, dead. Now, if you're in the situation, who's to blame? And what am I gonna say? And then like the crowd in the back, like the studio audience would go, depends on who's asking. Because again, it depends on who's asking. If the Irelia thinks, why is my jungler here when Kindred's ganking top? Some shit like that. I said that in a weird voice because I hate when this situation happens. I'm kind of just like making fun of him. But anyway, Irelia blames herself because she should not shove in the Mordekaiser knowing that Kindred starts bottom. Kindred classically ganks level 3, and if she starts bottom, it's going to be top. So, Irelia should not shove in the Mordekaiser. She should let Mordekaiser shove her in to avoid the level 3 gank. Now, if you're Rengar in this situation, and you're playing versus a Kindred, perhaps maybe you could start bottom this game knowing that Kindred will focus topside because Kindred usually starts red buff. So in this situation, you could think that, well, I could prevent this top lane gank from happening if that's what you care about as Rengar. And the same thing goes, Irelia is more of like a straight up mistake, but Rengar could play to something else. So either way, it depends on who is asking, whose fault it is, or who is saying whose fault it is, because it could be very well either, both, whatever. But it, like, objectively, it has to be one of their faults. But for self improvement, it must be both of their faults, and they must both be at equal faults, and then they assume all blame to themselves to play around the situation better. Imagine if you're playing chess and one of your chess pieces moves randomly. What are you going to do? Are you going to complain that the chess piece moves randomly and never get anywhere? Or are you going to figure out how to play around that chess piece moving randomly, and you're going to get better than someone that's complaining about it? The option two, obviously, if you're someone that's trying to get better. It's not hard to think about. If you're someone that just sits there and complains and makes excuses for your own faults in the game, you're never going to get better. So stop being a little pussy and accept that it's your fucking fault. That's all I'm saying. You gotta look at it like you're a fucking beast, and you gotta think, man, I could have played that a lot better, rather than blaming one of your teammates, because that's some pussy shit. You don't want to do that. So, um, what's the next on the notepad? Talk about your dumb box example. All right, I'll talk about my dumb glass box example. I'll just type in paint. Okay. So now this is a really dumb example, but it kind of proves my point. So here's a glass box. Here's a glass box. Here's a glass box right here. Okay, we're gonna draw some people in these boxes like this. Oh yeah, so we got some people boxes. Now, let's say that all these people are trapped inside of the box. Now, this is the main character here. This guy, I'm gonna draw him with a face, and these guys just have like weird looking faces because they're not the main character. So this guy's a basketball, and so these guys, this is you and this is the other people. Now, let's say this guy is like, you guys all have to figure out how to get out of this glass box. This guy right here is ramming his head into the fucking box trying to get out of the box. And you can tell that it's not working and he's not breaking the box. You can see this guy is kicking the box. He's kicking it with his leg, big muscle leg. And then you're just looking at these two people and you're laughing and saying, the fuck, they can't get out of the box like that. But you don't even know how to get the fuck out of the box. So why are you making fun of the people that do know how to get, or are trying to get out of the box? And then, like, looking at everyone else's boxes, you notice that there's like rocks in the box like this near the bottom, and you can't even see the own rocks at the bottom of your glass to try to get out, and you're blaming these other guys. You're blaming them with everything you'll sing you can. You're like, oh, they're distracting me, like they're just being stupid, all this other shit, and you don't even notice that you can just get out of the box super fucking easily because there's rocks. You can just fucking chuck them at the box and it cracks, and you're out of the box just like that, and you're gone and you win. But you can't even notice this and how to fix your situation because you're too fixated on the other bad situations that are happening that are out of your control. Are you going to stop these people from doing that? Fuck no, you're not. But you have to figure out how to solve your own problem first before you solve other people's problems. So you solve your problem, and then you'll realize that by solving your problem, you don't have to worry about these other people's problems anymore because you're out of the fucking box. Anyway, that's the example I gave because that's how I understand it the best. Um, conclude video with what you think is the correct way to go about this issue. So again, the correct way to go about the issue is to think of League of Legends as let me make a new one. Okay, think of League of Legends as this, basically. So this is you right here. This is you. Your character. I'm gonna draw your teammates. These guys are looking weird. I just do as fast as I can. Neck. Um. Okay, so that's 5. This is you. Now, all you can control is how you are playing around your glass box, okay? You can't control around how anyone else is. But what you can do is you can predict how these people are going to play. And that's where the game knowledge comes in. Because being able to predict how your teammates play and how the enemies play and what should happen and what could happen and what can't and what will, you could eventually be able to control almost everything in the game. Just by pure theory. And I mean, makes sense, right? If you know that your top laner is going to die to that gank, then go protect your top laner. If that's what you want to do. If you know that your top laner is going to get counter ganked, go counter don't gank it. You know, like you have all these things in your control that you're not totally aware of. You're almost in control of everything if you think about it like that. And when you do think about it like that, you hold all the power because not a lot of people do. So if you solely blame yourself, you'll improve exponentially faster because you're improving upon things that you can control, which is all that you can get better at because you can't win every game. So you want to be able to impact the game that you're playing as positively as you can, and that's the whole goal. So focusing on your top laner being a bad player because he got solo killed twice, does that help you improve upon yourself? No, it actually is doing the opposite. So you can't lie to yourself and say that you're trying to get better if you're doing some shit like that because that's just bullshit. You can't improve in that manner. So the best way to go about it is blaming yourself for almost everything. Uh, what you want to do is not devoid yourself of blame is the best way to go about it. You don't want to say that that's not my fault or that's not my fault. I couldn't do anything about that. It's better to not think about that, but more so care about I could have done this better. I could have done this better. I could have been here. That's what you care about more because devoiding yourself of fault shows like insecurity. Like you actually care a lot about that you fucked it up or you're trying to deny it. You don't want to do any of that. All you want to do is take responsibility for what you can take responsibility for, and that's all you got to do. You don't want to blame your teammates for fucking anything though. Don't ever blame your teammates. You don't gain anything from it. It's pointless. It's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism to stress, to anxiety that you're getting from playing your games, to you're not performing or that you feel like they're causing you the loss. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. What matters is that you're getting better and you get better by blaming yourself. So that's how I think you should go about it. But I think that's it. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much the whole video, and I want to conclude this with stop using your teammates as coping mechanisms and blame yourself for things that are in your control, and everything is in your control pretty much. So essentially, don't be a whiny baby about your teammates playing bad. And that's the whole video, guys. Thumbs up. Thanks for watching. You don't have to like it or anything. I don't mean it by that. I'm just like doing a thumbs up motion with my hand. But anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. I hope this helped.